Jason, what genre or genres do you currently write in and why?
I like to keep the genre broad, as say I write in speculative fiction, so sci-fi and fantasy and weird, fiction things. I like those because it really allows my imagination to roam unchecked. And nothing wrong with literary fiction or anything like that, but I mean, I think that like with these speculative genres, you can do more and still talk about the same themes and still talk about the same issues or portray the same people and and things like that. You can still do that in a way that is more imaginative and I think in a lot of instances is easier to for people to connect with. And it's because that's one of the things that I really do believe and hold true is this idea that we make sense of the world through our favorite stories and the
Yeah,
characters in these stories and things like that. These are actually our role models and our archetypes and stuff like that for how we like confront the world that and things like that. And so it's not it's not too big of a stretch to say that as growing up as a kid, like Luke Skywalker was my role model. And I wanted
yeah,
to be this guy, and I would go out and how would Luke Skywalker handle this, and things like that. It was a completely fantasy setting. It was something that was way off base, but like the stuff was it was real life, and I was able to connect to that and filter that and integrate a lot of like this real world stuff through these fantasy stories in a way that I don't think I would have had with like the speculative fiction and things like that we were having to or the literary fiction type stuff that we were having to read in school, like Hatchet or whatever that book was in fifth grade. And that so it's to me a way to really allow that imagination to roam, while still touching on these themes and ideas that the author really wants to talk about. And I think one of the people that really did that great as far as the genre is concerned is Philip K. Dick.
oh yeah, yeah.
And
We talk a lot about him on here.
yeah, yeah. And he really hammered that home. And then one of the other ones, a favorite of mine, is Robert E. Howard.
Love Rob.
Yeah, yeah, and I really think that like he was working with these ideas and these themes and these and stuff like that, working through his stories as well. And and to me that's what brings that stuff to life. That's what
Yeah,
makes it real. It isn't, oh, this takes place in Boston in 1957, and so it can be real, but this space western can't. And I'm like, yeah, says who? Like it's
yeah,
all taking place up here. And so,
yeah,
yeah. So, as far as that goes, yeah, it real is relative in that sense.
yeah. Well, I think of like the novella of it's like Victor Lavelle, The Ballad of Black Tom, and it was cool. It was like set in New York City, but it's a little different, and it's got like this Harlem Renaissance jazz age vibe. And he took, like you were saying, right? Took some of these speculative fiction aspects of how African Americans and other people of color and immigrants and just different things that were going on in a similar period in his version of New York City, and then took some of those, you know, enduring issues and made them into horror elements and threw in a little bit of magic, and all of a sudden you have like this absolutely like one of the best novellas I've ever read. But I totally agree with you because it really took some of those real world aspects, and really historically accurate stuff too, and really made it fantastical. And that's personally what I like about fantasy and science fiction and their subgenres or speculative fiction is that, you do get, look, don't get me wrong, I love me some Gary Paulson with Hatchet and the other ones, like The River and stuff. But there's just something about taking those elements and then combining them with, I always call it fantastical elements, whether it's horror, sci-fi, fantasy, and to me, it just makes it more fun. It's just you get your cake and you get to eat it too, I think, with those kind of things. So I think that makes total sense.
Right, right. And maybe it even makes those problems whenever you face them in a real world of seem like there's something that you can face, that you can overcome, right?
Yeah,
Because you've taken it from this really fantastical setting and distilled it down to something that's like facing you in front of your life. And if it to me can make these things more approachable and
yeah,
seem like they're not so daunting. And
yeah.
and so I really do appreciate the genre for that.